guys, it's Lily May.
And it's LindaRose.
I am so excited for today's episode. We have a lot of really cool things planned and a few really special announcements too.
Yeah, this episode is a lot of fun, and also if you didn't tell, we didn't say we're coming live to you from where we're from. This is a pre-recorded episode. One, because we do have my basketball team's having playoffs, so I'm super busy for the next few weeks, and also we have a huge storm coming through Maine in literally tomorrow, which is Tuesday, and throughout the rest of the week. So pre-recording was just a whole lot safer, but since I am on vacation as well, watch out on Facebook for me and Lily's lives as well.
Good luck at your playoffs too. That's so exciting.
Thanks. Unfortunately, I won't be playing because I was on the varsity team, but the varsity team is playing, and as JV, we have to go and support. But we are number 2 in the league right now, so we're a very good team, and I'm very excited to watch them crush it, and also I have a lot of friends on that team, so it'll be a lot of fun.
Wow, that's so cool. So for today's episode, we are going to be doing our halfway point discussion on the Nightingale. If you guys haven't been watching previously, we are doing our book discussion for the month. This is going to be over 2 months because it is a longer book. So we're doing a halfway discussion today, and at the end of next month, we're going to be doing a full discussion on the entire book.
Yeah, and the book is really good, and if you haven't yet, you should read it. Mine still hasn't come in from the mail, so I've been reading it online. But it is a really good book, and everybody that can afford it and that can have the needs to get it, you should definitely do it. And I'm pretty sure we're also giving away another one, right? Or do we already do that?
Yes, we will be giving away a copy once we hit 1,000 followers on the Orchid Times group. So make sure you guys go and check how to enter in the featured bar. Make sure you guys don't miss out on that because I'm so excited. And it is an amazing book, but just a quick disclaimer, this book is for the older audience. So if you guys, it's an amazing book though, and I've been so excited to read it, and it's just amazing. It's already in my top 5.
Yeah, and it definitely, like you said, definitely is for an older audience. And although it is for an older audience, I think it is a good book that has a lot of good points in it that if you do have younger children, it is a good idea to talk about those topics with them as well, and maybe even let them read a few pages that are age appropriate for them as well, because it does give a lot of good information, and it's a really good book.
Absolutely, it's such an informative book. So we're going to go ahead and get started with our discussion. The first topic we want to talk to them about is what the Nightingale is about. Do you want to start this one?
Sure. So I have what the back of the book says, but really, in my opinion, I think the Nightingale is about a lot of friends and family, and just how they get through war together, and also how women went through it and what that looked like for them. And I think it's about just being in the moment and really teaching us about history that we don't experience as much now. And also some topics and some spots that women still experience, and some discrimination they experienced back then, and some that they experience now too.
Yeah, it has so many great historical aspects, and it's a really great historical. It's really accurate too for the time. Just a quick summary is Nightingale is about 2 sisters living in Nazi-occupied Germany. It goes over all the struggles women faced during World War II, which is super interesting to read because women's roles are not often discussed in a lot of World War II books. And it also talks a lot about women's roles in the resistance and about female spies. I love reading historical fiction books, and even though I haven't read all of the Nightingale, it's already in my top 5, and I've read so many World War II books too. And I encourage anyone who hasn't started reading to definitely start because it's so amazing, and we have the links and everything in the description if you guys are interested.
Yeah, and I definitely think if you don't have the opportunity to read it, definitely reach out to me and Lily, because we are willing to help with you with anything like that.
Our next topic we wanted to do a little bit about was why we picked the Nightingale. We picked the Nightingale because we've been reading books that talk a little bit more about recent challenges women have faced, but we wanted to switch it up and do a book that had some more historical aspects as well. A lot of World War II books cover men's experiences during that time, and I have been so excited to read this one. It's been on my to-read list for like a few years now, and I've really been excited to get to learn some more about women's obstacles that they faced during World War II.
Yeah, and I do agree with everything you said, and also just kind of how basically I wrote down the same thing that you said, just showing how what happened to women during that time, and not just focusing on men, and more a book that focuses more on women, which I think was really awesome that someone wrote that. And I'm very happy that it's a book and that is available to the world. And I definitely think that another reason we picked it is because it is set back in a different time, in a time that a lot of people now, a lot of kids now, and our generation doesn't know what it was like back then. And I think this book really shows what a lot of people went through and what that time really was like for women.
It's so important to educate yourself on the challenges everybody faced at different periods of time. And I think this book does an excellent job at describing that. It makes it super interesting to amazing to read. It's a really historically accurate book. And I've read a ton of books, but there's not a ton that cover like that in depth about women's roles in World War II. So it's a really great one to read.
Yeah, and some books too, there have been some books I've read that are supposed to be about what happened in different events that were way back that aren't historically as accurate. And I think when they say that it is historically accurate and it's not as historically accurate, does kind of ruin the whole reading about history for me, because it is something I enjoy. So I definitely think that this book did a great job with that, and I'm really happy that she was so good with writing it.
100%. Our next topic we wanted to do was a little bit about our thoughts on the first 20 chapters.
Yeah, with the first 20 chapters, I'm going to try not to avoid spoilers because I don't want to for anybody that hasn't gotten there yet. For me, the way the book was opened and how it was I don't want to call it a slow start because there was a lot of information and a lot of good, but it was a slower start than some historically fiction books are. And usually I hate that. With this book, the information that they were giving was really good. And I think the first 20 chapters are definitely, some of the pages and chapters do withhold a lot of sad information, especially with characters like the woman that they opened it up with, who at the beginning was unknown. And I think it shows throughout those 20 chapters, you do see a lot of character development and a lot of what just being part of a war was like back then. And I think that was really awesome.
And as the book goes on too, it's so fast paced. Like seriously, it's like it holds your attention perfectly, and that's really hard sometimes with historical fiction books. It's a hard one to keep your attention, but this one did that perfectly. I also really loved how it's going back and forth between the two sisters, Vianne and Isabella's thoughts and experiences about the war. And I really loved, too, how they gave different viewpoints from different ages of women, too. Like, Isabella's 19 and Vianne is 26. And it was really great how they gave two different ages as viewpoints, too, to make it really interesting to all different generations and ages who are reading the book.
Yeah, I do think no matter how young you were when World War II was going on, no matter how young you were, women and men, it was a lot of the same experiences and a lot of different experiences too. And I think that's something that we don't know, that at least the USA doesn't know as much. I know a lot of other countries there are still super young kids, like 16-year-olds enlisting in the military, and in the USA you can't do that. But I know a lot of other countries go through that, and at the time of the book, other people went through that too. And I do think that is an important topic that needs to be reached on, because a lot of young men went into the army and the military so early in life that they never really got to experience being a child. And I think that was something that even though this is a book about women, they did touch on that a little bit. I was very happy about it.
Our next topic we wanted to talk a little bit about was a favorite scene or quote. I'm going to pick a favorite quote to share with you guys. My favorite was, "It's better to be bold than meek. If you jump off of a cliff, at least you'll fly before you fall." This is one of my favorites from the book because it was so powerful, and it's really applicable to many different aspects of life. And the theme of it basically is just sometimes it's better to take the risk and just go for it and not worry too much. I think this quote really embodies this theme, and it was so hard to pick my favorite because there was literally so many good ones.
Yeah, and mine was instantly when I started reading the book. I knew for a fact that we had a question about favorite quote or scene. I knew from the minute I read the first page that one was definitely going to be the one I would choose. And it's actually the opening sentence of the book. And the reason I chose it was because it's very powerful, and it's just an amazing quote that I thought that a lot of people could relate to, and not me, but a lot of older people that have been in a relationship and have had relationships can relate to, which is, in love we find out who we want to be, and more we find out who we are. And I have a lot of family members that were in the military and that served time. So yeah, my grandfather married my grandmother and then went into the army. He served time, and I think just that quote is something a lot of people can relate to, and a lot of people, the men that serve time, can relate to, because war is a tough thing, and it can do some damage to somebody, and I've seen that secondhand, and I think that it's important, and I think that you do find out who you are.
Yeah, that's a super beautiful quote, and thank you so much for sharing some too about some of that with your family and stuff. That was super powerful. Our next topic was, what's your favorite character and why? Did you want to start this one off?
Yes. My favorite character was one that was earlier on in the chapters, which was Rachel, or I think that could be. I know people have that's spelled the same, but it's Raquel. I'm gonna think it's Rachel. But the way she really cares for the people in her life is something that I can relate to, and I love how much she cares, and it's something that I thought was amazing. I don't know. I felt the way she cares for people. I felt the connection, and the author wrote her character really nicely.
She was an amazing character and definitely somebody that we can learn a lot from too. My favorite character from the book is Isabella. She has to overcome so much, and I think her character is someone we can also learn a lot from. And she has so many great quotes too. I know the one I picked earlier was one that was said by her. She's so brave and isn't afraid to say what's on her mind, even though she knows there will be consequences. And she's also strong and very dedicated to her goal, even when she experiences a setback.
Yeah, I did have her down as well. She is extremely strong, especially for her age, and I think that going through what she's been through and still speaking up, even though the consequences can be so huge, is insanely powerful and insanely inspirational.
And it was super interesting to hear about her experiences in the book as a teen experiencing World War II. So it was she's one of my favorites.
Yeah, definitely one of my favorites. But I think so far all the characters, the way they're written, all the characters are written very nicely. So it is hard to choose a favorite.
Our next one that we wanted to talk about is something you learned about women's roles in World War II. Did you want to start this one off?
Sure. I think something I learned is like I was expecting a lot of women to be nurses and to be in the medical field during the World War, but I wasn't expecting it to be as much women in there as they explained there was. I wasn't expecting it to be as much medical professional help from women, just because I feel like back then, I mean, I've heard stories from family members that lived back then. I feel like back then women were kind of like supposed to or seen as to be in the kitchen, and I just wasn't expecting them to be out there giving medical help as much as they were.
I know it was really interesting to read some about the higher profile roles too, like women's roles in the resistance. Women played such a big part in the war, and it's not something they hear about often. I've read so many World War II books, and you still don't hear a lot about it, and I was so surprised to learn more information about women in the resistance, and I hope to learn more about it as I continue reading the book too.
Yeah, and I think another thing too is, like you said, how reluctant men were to listen to women's needs and to listen how they need rights and how they need a change, and how reluctant men were to actually listen to that and hear about it. And I think that was something that I wasn't as surprised in, but it was disappointing to hear that, because it's sad when women back then were trying to make a difference and they just weren't being heard.
Yeah, and that's a topic that they also talk a lot about in the Nightingale too.
Yeah, and I think that women back then should have been heard more, because it would have made today a lot easier for women to live in, because right now, with topics we'll talk about later, it's a hard place. The world is a hard place for a woman to live right now, and I think that if men and other people did hear back then, when women were trying to say and use their voices and say we need to change, and if they listened and did try and make a change, it would have made today a lot easier for a lot of younger women.
100%. Our next topic, our second to last topic actually I want to talk about, is character development in the book so far. The character development is so good, and it's super interesting to see how Vianne and Isabella's viewpoints about the war change throughout the book, and to see the characters themselves change too. Vianne learns how to survive in Nazi-occupied Germany, Nazi-occupied France, and Isabella grows by overcoming all the obstacles that come with being part of the resistance.
Yeah, I also wrote down Vianne's was my main one. I wanted to talk about her strength that she has, and I mean, really, all I wrote down was just the strength that she's shown, and just the strength that she has, and the amount of times that Vianne is described as more of a shy person, and the way she's living and everything, she's so strong, and it's definitely a character that I look up to and am so excited to learn more about.
Yes, totally. And for our last one for tonight, what do you hope the book expands on in future chapters?
For me, for where they are in the book and what the book's in right now, I think that they've been talking about kind of what's relevant, and really I can't say there's something I want them to expand on more, because with where they are and how it is historical, it's harder to say where I want them to expand on more, because I don't know a lot about World War II, so it's harder for me to say what I want them to expand on more, especially since I already think they're talking about amazing stuff that women went through and really expanding on it already. So for right now, I think they're doing great, especially for the timestamp is.
Yeah, they've covered an amazing amount of topics. I do hope that they expand more on Isabella's work as a spy, just because it's been really new to me, and I've been really interested to read more about it. And this book is so good, and I'm so excited to continue reading it and get to discuss the full book next month.
Yes, the discussion next month is going to be very, very exciting, because it is the full book discussion, and when it comes to a full book discussion, I'm trying really hard, because I am ahead a little bit, because I won't have time the next few weeks. So it's really hard for me not talk about where I'm at right now, because I just want to like talk about everything. So I'm really excited for our next discussion on the book, because I just want to talk about everything.
Absolutely. I had to stop directly at chapter 20 just because I didn't want to accidentally give any spoilers, because I'm so excited to talk about this book.
Yeah, I have a whole entire page right now that's like been sitting right there dedicated to what not to say. Because like I said, I have to read ahead, so I have time. Because I won't have time to actually read. And so I do have time, I read ahead, so I don't have to like stress about reading the book. And it's so hard not to like give spoilers. I don't mean to be, but I spoil things sometimes because I get really excited. I don't mean to spoil it. I just get excited. So like I have to have a paper of like what not to say.
Same. I know I was researching, and the movie for this book hasn't come out yet, but I was looking at the casting, and it is perfect. Vianne and Isabella are going to be played by Dakota and Elle Fanning.
I can't wait for the movie to come out, because I think that it's going to be a good movie.
Absolutely. And Dakota and Elle Fanning are some of my favorite actors. So I'm so excited to see it. We wanted to take some time to talk about the Fox News reporter, Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson is an extremely sexist and misogynistic reporter for the Fox News program. On his political talk show, he attempted to belittle Chelsea Handler, and a comedian, by making fun of a video about a day in the life as a childless woman. It was absolutely disgusting to see this clip from Fox News and to see a bunch of men on screen saying stuff like girl bosses don't exist and making sexist and unethical comments about women embracing their career. And this is just another reminder of how far we still have to go in equal rights for everyone. And it's just a little disappointing to see men like Tuggle Carlson being allowed to come on and say things like this on national news.
Yeah, saying it on national news, if you do have opinions on that, that is something I feel should be kept to yourself, because everybody is entitled to their own opinion. That is something everybody has the right to have. And it's angering because it's just not, if you have those opinions, you should keep them to yourself. And especially announcing it on national television while attacking somebody else is not the most professional thing, and two, is extremely hurtful and can be embarrassing to that certain someone, and it's not something that should ever be done.
We wanted to take some time to talk about Minnesota's movement to take action on missing and murdered Black women. Black women are killed and lost at a rate nearly 3 times higher than their white counterparts. 2,069 African American women were murdered in 2021. Minnesota's state legislature and advocates created the Missing and Murdered African American Women Task Force to help combat this issue. This task force is the first of its kind and was started in 2021, but unfortunately wrapped up in December of 2022. While there is so much more that can and needs to be done, this task force was an excellent step forward for Minnesota.
Absolutely, and I do think that racism is something that a lot of people kind of overlook, and as someone that is white, and I do have white privilege, and being white and seeing other white people discriminate against someone just because they have a different skin tone is so infuriating to me when I see it happen, because it doesn't make sense to me, being in the state that the world is in now, if we can just come together, because racism is something that shouldn't even exist, in my opinion. Racism needs to be stopped, and it can't. And if you do see it happening, you should definitely say something and step up, because it is so infuriating when I do see it happen. And me and my dad are always one to say something, because it's not okay. And just because they have a different skin tone than you, it doesn't mean that you should discriminate against them. And I truly will never understand it. So I'm really happy that they took that step forward.
Totally. And as we were saying, it's so important to speak up if you see anything happening. And also, it's just important to remember to treat everybody the same and treat them fairly, because it's so disappointing to see stuff like this happening with where we are in society. And it's just something that needs to stop.
Yeah, racism is something that should have never existed. And we have the opportunity to make sure that it doesn't exist in the future. And we should really take advantage of that to make sure that it doesn't get to the point where it never goes away.
Since the UK vetoed Scotland's gender recognition law, so many steps back have been made for trans and LGBTQ+ rights in Britain. We wanted to take some time to inform people about offensive comments made by J.K. Rowling about people in the LGBTQ+ community. This is not the first time she has said something hateful either. Back in 2020, she retweeted an inclusive op-ed piece about people who menstruate, angry that they did not use the word woman, and has made numerous more anti-trans posts and retweets since then. It's so disappointing and discouraging to see people refusing to accept and treat people fairly, and it's important not to encourage this type of behavior from anyone. I know in the future I will not be buying or streaming any more books or movies by J.K. Rowling, and other people can do the same too.
Yeah, I definitely think that as being such a huge public figure, especially for younger children, her making these comments are absolutely disgusting. And I think that it is something that we should not even give her the power to be able to do and get recognition for it, because it is so angering that because she is such a public figure for younger children, it's angering that she would post these, especially since it's so offensive. And with the money that she's made, you would think that she would be somewhat reluctant to keep posting these, because she's been doing it, making comments like these in live interviews as well, her entire life. So it's it's angering that she is still doing it.
It's so terrible to see, and especially because she's posted stuff recently and it's gone back. I think the first one was like 2019 or something from what I know of, and just to see it continuing on, it's so crazy, and people just need to stop saying hateful things online.
Yeah, online, the social media world can be very, very, very discouraging to a lot of people, and the social media world is also very cruel and can be a very cruel place, and it should be at the point where it's not that, because social media was created so people can connect, not so people can be rude to each other. So cyberbullying is a thing, and seeing a adult and a woman doing it to other women and other trans people, and also with the public figure that she is, it is very angering that she would post that.
Absolutely, it's so discouraging. For our last topic tonight, we want to talk some about Brianna Ghey. Last week, Brianna Ghey, a trans 16-year-old TikToker, was murdered in the middle of the day in a park in the UK. She was often bullied at school for being trans, and her friends said that her school and the police did nothing to help, and she was constantly harassed on TikTok as well. A 15-year-old boy and a 15-year-old girl murdered her in the middle of the day, and despite the evidence, the police are still saying that this was not a hate crime. The sad thing is, though, is that stuff like this happens every day in the U.S. and in other countries, and it's rarely talked about. You don't see stories like Brianna's being shared on the front page of CNN and other big-time news platforms, which is why it's so important we use our voice and spread information and stories like Brianna's, because otherwise we're never going to see any change.
Yeah, and I do think the not only is it a problem that the police didn't do anything, and are still not really doing much even after she was murdered, it's also the fact that the school was not doing better at making sure that the bullying in school was not going on. And also the people that run, this is a big problem I have with social media, is that comments, they can be deleted by the platform themselves, and there's just not, and that is something that a lot of social media platforms need to do, because it is so extremely hurtful to them. And I think that social media is a cruel place, and they are so hurtful and rude, and I've seen it online before on other people's posts, and it is disgusting.
Yeah, that's such an important topic you brought up, and I've seen these comments too, and they are absolutely terrible and so disgusting, and people just need to do better with that. We're going to go ahead and share a quick video about Brianna Ghey, and make sure you guys come back afterwards because we are going to make some announcements. That was such a powerful video, and make sure if you guys see a TikTok or an Instagram or anything, make sure to share it, because the only way we're ever going to see change is by spreading stories like Brianna's and other people's too. So make sure you guys always share and speak up too, because that's so important.
Also, I do send out my prayers to Brianna's family and any of her friends, and also I feel a lot of empathy for any people. This is why being part of the LGBTQ community is so difficult, because if one person gets harassed, it's not just that one person being harassed, it's also the whole entire community feels that as well. So it's something that it's being discriminated against just because of what you identify as, or what gender you like, or what your sexual preference is it's so disappointing that it's still going on, and it's very angering and very emotional for me to see, because I have multiple friends who are part of the LGBTQ community who are constantly, I had a friend that was terrified to come out because of how people at school would treat her. So it's something I'm very passionate about, is making sure that people are not discriminating against them. So it's something very emotional for me, and the fact that someone was killed for it, and something that should have never even been considered to happen.
Absolutely. As someone part of the LGBTQ plus community, it's so sad to see stories like Brianna's and to see tons of other stories too. And it's really something, it's not that hard to treat everybody fairly, and it's something that people just need to do. It shouldn't be second thought.
And the fact that it was how young she was when she was killed, this should not be just another murder that is buried within multiple different stories. It should be on the front cover, and multiple things like this should be on the front cover of multiple different news areas. And it's not, and that is the big problem. It doesn't matter who it was. If someone that's part of a community, or someone that is a person of color, their stories aren't shared as much as they need to be. And it is so disappointing, because as a person with white privilege, the fact that people that are white, their stories, or people that are straight, their stories being shared more than people that are discriminated against, doesn't make any sense to me. Their stories should be front page, should be front cover, and they're not, and it's very, very angering and disappointing.
Yeah, absolutely. That was such an important topic to bring up. Thank you guys all so much for being here on our news segment and for our discussion. We're going to go ahead and bring up just a few of our new announcements. We have a ton of new merch on our merch page. I let my sister go at the merch last night, and she made so many new cool designs, and they're so cool. I especially love the Future Feminist baby onesie. Oh my God, it's so cute. I love it.
I know. The amount of things that you can create for merch is amazing. And also, I saw the Future Feminist one. That one, I can't even. That one was great.
I love it so much. She did amazing on all of them. And we have the merch designs up on the screen now. If you guys see one that you like, make sure to go down in our description. We have it, the merch shop linked below, and it's really easy to purchase something. So if you guys are interested in something like an OT sweater like this, or any of our other stuff we have on there, make sure you guys check it out. And also, next month is Women's History Month, and we are going to be posting tons of content on the page. If you guys have any cool articles or anything you want to share, make sure to put it in there, and we'll approve it as soon as we see it. We're also going to be doing a showcase at the end of the month for a fundraiser for a Women's History Month organization. So make sure if you guys are interested in performing or doing something, send us a message, and we'll send you over the time slots we have available.
Yeah, also something that I do want to say too is that if you're ever interested in going live on the page, please message me and Lilly, because we are 99% of the time we do let you go live, and it's something Orchid Times is for women. So if you want to share what you do, if you sell art and you want to go live and show the art that you're making, that you're selling, please reach out to me and Lilly, because we love to help you out.
Thank you all so much for being here. We will be doing a discussion at the second week of the end of March of the full Nightingale. Make sure you guys stay tuned, and we are going to be giving away a copy as soon as we hit 1,000 followers on the Orchid Times show group. You guys can see how to enter in the featured bar. The post is pinned, and please invite your friends and stuff, because the sooner we hit 1,000, the sooner we'll do that giveaway.
Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you guys do enjoy this honestly very emotional episode. And if you do see anything about Brianna and her story, and please share it and get her story out there, because it's something that needs to be talked more about and is not being talked about enough.
Absolutely. Always make sure to share. And see you guys next Wednesday. Make sure you guys tune in to Alice Nelson's interview next Wednesday, and I'm so excited to see you guys there. I hope you all have a great rest of your day and week.